Instead of character driven versus plot driven, I think we should say internal emphasis versus external emphasis, and where that emphasis lies. And this is usually the perception of the audience. I mean, your own perception of a work is all you really have. Um, I feel like when it comes to what people want and sort of the conflict in what appeals to who, a lot of it comes down to this kind of dichotomy. And usually it's portrayed as like either you care about the characters or you care about the plot or the lore. When I think it's a way more accurate to say either you care, because like you can't separate a character from a story. Like, yeah, a story can either be mundane or very high stakes. It can be as like mundane as like Hidamari's sketch, or as most insane and universe spanning as Homestuck. But like, you can't have, like, the story and the characters are inseparable. A story is carried out by characters, but usually people either care about the feelings of the character, the internal world of the character, or they may care about the actual events, the actions the characters take. This often, you can see this a very clear delineation to this between shonen and shoujo manga. Shonen manga is about events. It is about the events the characters enact and what that means materially. Like, you are watching Goku fight Frieza because Frieza is going to blow up Namek. And if we don't stop him, he is going to do a genocide. And yeah, you get insights into how Goku feels and how Gohan feels, and how all these Dragon Ball characters feel, but that's not the point. You're there because of all the external interactions between all these characters and what they mean materially. Whereas a lot of shoujo manga is seen as about feelings, about how characters feel and how those feelings affect other people, and you get a very intimate look into the worlds of each of these characters. Not a shoujo manga, but a good example of an extremely internal story is Serial Experiments Lain. Serial Experiments Lain is pretty much consumed by Lane's subjectivity. And like, you get a feel of the events outside of her, but the important part is that you are getting how Lane feels and how her entire existence is sort of a disregard for our conventional ideas of the material. And I think this goes into a bigger thing. People who are very analytical versus people who are very vibes based. Um, I often see people who are very analytical be like, how can you say you like something without knowing why? And it's not that people don't know why they don't like that, or they do or don't like something, but a lot of the times they do not have the words to really convey what they're feeling. To be able to do that is a skill that one develops over time. I Some people it comes naturally to others. It definitely did not come naturally to me. The reason I can speak so analytically and I can kind of go off the cuff like this is because of years and years and years of practice spanning back to when I was 10 years old. It's a very rigorous practice because I did not have the words to convey the feelings I had. I don't feel very connected to reality. I feel like I am Lane. Lane is probably my fourth favorite anime character of all time, and is someone who I feel like experiences reality very similarly to me. I am kind of trapped in my own perception, and when I am left alone, I get so into my brain and so into my own thoughts that it feels like a deeply immersive world that is completely separate from what the normal agreed upon material reality is to most people. I have developed a plural system in my own head in order to sort of organize all of my thoughts and needs to a specific altar, to a specific person, and this has helped me greatly. And I feel like internal stories tend to be more vibes based. Like, again, Serial Experiments Lain is a very atmospheric show. It is a show that asks you to meditate, to take in the world, and to sort of allow the feeling to wash over you without really thinking about the events that are literally happening too much. And I then, there's like a show like Attack on Titan, which Attack on Titan is very much about the war itself, and shows that have more of an external emphasis tend to have characters with more simplistic motivations. Like Aaron's motivation is that he has to protect something, that he something was taken away from him, and there is a continuous threat of that happening, and so you have to protect it. It is a very external stories tend to be about survival. They tend to be about because to be internal is on some level a privilege. It is on some level. Some people are more naturally inclined to one or the other, but to be able to spend all day in your head is to not be in a survival state at all times. And I feel like people who are very analytical are tend to be more concerned with trying to at least adapt to the external world and justify their feelings to the external world. Whereas people who are vibes-based tend to be confident in their own internal world to the point where they are fine with just sitting in their emotions and sitting in their vibes and not really externalizing them. But it is also straight up a skill that one develops. And I don't think any one is more valid than the other, but I do think that these two kinds of people really misunderstand each other, and it's very frustrating to see sometimes, because I don't want to get too categorical with it, because most people have both in them. Again, it kind of just like I find myself in a very extreme position where I have developed the very analytical skills, but I feel like my base is like this very internal vibes-based kind of mentality where I feel something very strongly and I am then trying to translate that feeling into a way that people understand, though that's not really the goal here. Now I just do it because I like it, because I like hearing myself ramble about concepts that I find interesting. I feel like I also have issues with extremely external works. I've never been super into Western fantasy. I've always struggled with getting into big action shonen, though I have no problems with watching shows like Boogie Pop Phantom or Technolize or any Ikuhara shows, because they are about feelings, they're about representing emotions or abstract concepts. I find it especially hard to follow political plots. Once characters start speaking all diplomatically and they start and it starts to be about the political motivations of things, and therefore starts kind of being this big game of politics, I start to I have really hard time keeping up with that kind of thing. Though I can watch Moaru Penguin Drum and tell you what everything in that show means and how it relates to concepts of fate and love and the idea of life being a punishment and what you do in that punishment, and how love kind of makes war happen, because if you love something, you have a desire to protect it. It's also about generational trauma both on a very specific level of referencing the 1995's Japanese sarin gas attacks, while also very broad, using these stories and myths to sort of communicate the broad idea of inherited punishment, and life kind of going back to a singular origin point of that happening, and inheritance kind of continuing in a cycle. And there's all these themes going around, and I can tell you the themes of things, but I couldn't, if I watched Legend of Galactic Heroes, I couldn't tell you all the actual events of those things. I don't know. I find that really interesting, because I have friends who are very external, who I feel like very external people. They tend to be have more brains of engineers or mathematicians, people who can interact with the material world in such a way that manipulating it comes very naturally to them. Manipulating the outside world does not come naturally to me at all. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.